As a child, we all long for a hero. As a society as a whole, we search for that leader that can be our hero. But as we mature and as we grow, it dawned on us that the hero is inside every one of us. And in the world's social media, we all start at zero. And slowly we search deep within ourselves to find who we are. And we have that moment of truth where we embrace that the hero that we've been searching for has been there all along. It is living deep inside of every one of us. And we start embracing that journey and we become that hero that we search for.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to episode 93 of Zero to Hero, presented by J29 Creative Group. I have another awesome guest coming at you guys today, and I truly appreciate what our next guest does. I have been the victim of some bad management, and I have also benefited off some really excellent management as well, and that's what our next guest focuses on. He's the author of Now That I'm a Manager, What Do I Do Next? He's also the CEO and founder of Dynamo Methods. His name is Isaac Wambua. Let's go ahead and bring him in. Isaac, how are you today, buddy?
I'm doing fantastic. How are you doing?
Oh, I'm doing wonderful. So tell everybody a little bit about what you're doing at Dynamo Methods and how you're really changing the landscape of leadership, not only here locally, but nationwide.
Yeah, so Dynamo Methods, it's a professional development and training company that I founded several years ago, basically in 2014. And what we do, there are three things that we do. The first one is on the consulting side. We help small to medium-sized companies to streamline their processes, their systems. That just increases efficiency, productivity, bring in more revenue, and then, of course, have enough resources to be able to attract, retain employees, pay them well. So all the good stuff. And then we have the training side of the business, and we train on leadership management, communication. And of course, you alluded to this. It's the reason I decided to get into this lane of business, specifically training and coaching, is because I also went through not very good experiences in my career in corporate America. But what I observed was kind of a roller coaster way of operation, where 1 month we are doing very well, the next month we are not, and you find most of the staff are constant. You have the same resources, the same people, and I came to realize the main factor was the people. Where we are emotional beings. So depending on how people feel and how they see things and their perspectives and their perceptions, they tend to act a certain way. So I got interested in kind of the concepts of influencing people to act a certain way. And it's not manipulation. What can you give people? How can you appreciate them? What can you say? The timing. And that's in the lens of communication. And from a leadership perspective, how can you cast a vision, make it very clear, support them, provide the resources? And that's why I decided to get into this kind of a business. So we spend a lot of time coaching and training leaders, executives, CEOs, on how to influence their people and how to get them to the next level, not just to help the company, but also to help the people meet their own personal goals. And then the other side of the business is speaking. I do quite a bit of speaking myself, which has been great. And the speaking piece is not just being on stage and feeling good about it. It's about inspiring people, which means showing them what's possible for them and also empowering them with their resources. So all those lanes of the business, the consulting, the speaking, and the training are all intertwined, and we really love what we do.
That's amazing. Yeah, one thing I want to ask you about here before we get into the real meat part of the show, there's so many different personality types that are out there, and so many different personalities respond and react to different ways of leadership, right? Yep. A lot of the times, the teams that are in corporate America, or even just in, mom and pop small businesses around the country, they're made up of several different of those types of personalities. So what are some of the ways that you're, advising C-levels or business owners or just leaders in general on how to handle each individual type of personality?
Yeah. So from a baseline perspective, yes, you're right. We have different personalities. There are 4 major personalities. There are people that are drivers. There are people that are just influential, inspiring. They just want to be out there. There are people that are just very relational. They like to get along with people and make sure that they're okay. And then we have people that are very analytical. And even when you're growing up, probably your parents or your brothers kind of figured out who you are and you're able to know that. But when it comes to the professional side, you almost have to study that to understand people very well, because you can't just look at Isaac and say, hey, Isaac, you're just a very analytical person. You're putting a label on that particular person.
Right.
So what I did after I understood that, and when I decided to get into this field of training and development, I decided to study personalities. And so I'm a certified DISC consultant. And besides using the resources that we have, of course, we get to train and educate C-level executives, CEOs, and managers on how to, even without doing an assessment, how to determine what kind of a personality someone has. And when you slow down just enough to observe and get to talk to people, you can figure out who they are very, very quickly. I'll give you a quick example. Two days ago, I was on a Zoom call with a group of executives. So the organization has hired me to speak at their national conference next month. So we were doing a little bit of, getting to know what is it that you're expecting from me? How is it going to look like? And one of the ladies came a little bit late, just 2 minutes late to the Zoom call. And when she came in, I observed a few things. And when I got to talk to her and I said, you look like a very high energy person and a driver. And she was like, how did you know? I said, I can tell just by the way you walked in and sat down and your demeanor. So it's not about judging people. It's slowing down and paying attention to know who people are. And that brings a lot of value to the executives, to the company, and to the employees. If not for anything else, you can get people the help they need faster than ever before, if you can determine what kind of a personality they have even before they do the assessment.
Yeah, absolutely. I 100% agree with you. And I think when you're able to read those personalities accurately, it helps to build that trust, which obviously builds efficiency when we're trying to get things done as well. So absolutely incredible. Absolutely incredible. Let's get into the meat of it here, Isaac. So putting aside the speaking, putting aside the book, which we didn't really talk about too much, but putting aside, the career aspect, who is Isaac Wambua? Give us your elevator pitch.
Yes. So Isaac is so many things, but if I can just sum it up for you, Isaac is someone who is very, very passionate, number one, about life, number two, about helping people. And this goes back to many years of self-discovery and trying to know who I am. I grew up in Africa, specifically Kenya, and I have 4 brothers, 2 sisters. I was raised by a single mother, and growing up in that environment, really in the village. If you've ever gone to what we call a third world country, you know what a village is. But growing up in that environment shaped who I am. I learned how to basically be selfless, because it's a place where it's a community. Everything belongs to everyone. But beyond that, I learned how to see people for who they are. So being passionate about helping people came from that place where we didn't have a lot of resources. So kind of we had to have each other's back. So in a way that if you have specifically like 2 spoonfuls of sugar, you may have to share that with your brother. That means your tea is not going to have enough sugar, but you want to do that. Your neighbor would show up and say, my kids we don't have breakfast for our kids. So you split whatever that you have, not because you have more than enough, but because you just want to help the other person. So growing up in that environment where we didn't have enough resources, I always dreamt of finding resources to help people. And that's what I do today. So I'm passionate about life, passionate about helping people. And from a professional perspective, really showing them what's possible for them, who they can become, a better person, a better husband, a better professional, a better executive, what they can do. Because when you become, you do really incredible stuff, and what they can have. Now, we live in a world where sometimes having material things is looked down upon. I grew up without a lot of resources. So I've always really wanted to have enough resources for myself and my family. So having things is okay, so long as you don't let the things, kind of drive you crazy, or at least you get addicted to the stuff that you have. So becoming, doing, and having the things that you want. And I believe that's good for people to enjoy a good quality of life. So I'm that kind of a person who really passionate about life and people, and I'm always looking for resources to help them out.
That's amazing. Yeah, and I feel like the passion for life as we get older sometimes tends to drop off just a little bit, right, at a time. So it is good to have those reminders, right, and have those
Right.
things that are really driving us forward, right, and
Mhm.
reinvigorating our passion for life as well. So amazing, amazing. Now I'm going to ask you about your social media journey here. So you opened Dynamo Methods in 2014. We had 0 followers, we had 0 likes, 0 posts, right? Just
Yep.
getting it off the ground.
Mhm.
Tell us about your journey from that day in 2014 where you opened up the LinkedIn to where you're at now.
My social media journey yeah, has been incredible. Initially, just like most of the people, I was a little bit skeptical. The first account that I had was just Facebook, and then LinkedIn came along. I started out offline, basically networking, which was a very interesting journey as well. You find when you get out there talking to strangers, which is something that we are usually advised against, talking to strangers, asking them for money. But when you think about business, that's what we do. We talk to people that we don't know, we build a relationship, then we ask them to buy our services and products. So initially, I started out offline, and then I saw the value of getting online, having really the world as my platform. So my journey has been just having my own personal profile on LinkedIn. Then I had my business profile. And what I've learned is that even though there's a business profile, people have to connect with me first before they can even connect with my brand. So I look at them as one and the same thing. Yes, it's Dynamo Methods and Isaac Wambua, but I always pay a lot of attention on my personal profile. So that's what it has been. And the following has been growing very, very well. And it's interesting that my intention was not necessarily to get business through LinkedIn, just to be honest with you. It was just one of those, again, going back to the two things. I'm passionate about life and inspiring and empowering people. I was looking for a platform where I can share some good ideas. People can get to connect with me. And since, of course, I have a brand, Dynamo Methods, and when you go to the website, it has a little bit of information, not everything. I figured, why not have a LinkedIn profile and a website, and maybe find multiple avenues for people to be able to connect with me so I can have the chance to inspire them and empower them.
Yeah, and honestly, that is the best strategy, I think, when it
Mhm.
comes to LinkedIn. I spend a lot of time. I think a lot of professionals spend a lot of time on LinkedIn, and it's very clear when somebody has the goal just to sell,
Yep.
right, versus actually sharing their story, right, and giving little tips and tricks. It's something as a digital marketing company, we're like, hey, give away a little bit, right,
Yep.
not enough to where it's they don't need you, right,
Mhm.
because we still want them to need you and want you and bring you in, but giving away that little free advice here and there, just to help, right,
Exactly. And if I
huge
may jump,
difference.
yeah, if I may jump in, just to share perspective and an observation, you want to give as much as you can. Now, if I meet with you and I say, okay, I really want this guy to be interested in my story, but I'm going to give him just 20% of who I am and my passion, my attention, most likely you are going to sense it that I'm holding back,
Right.
and you're likely to get the short side of the stick. So what I believe is that you bring your whole self to the interaction, to the expression, and give as much as you can. And what I know is that potentially I'm the best person to express what Dynamo Methods does. I'm the best person to express who Isaac is and what I can bring to the table. So I never feel like I need to give just 20% or 80% or 50. That's first off, that's way too much work. But a good analogy that I learned many years ago is that even when you tell people, at least you share pretty much everything that you have, people need someone to hold their hand, to interpret it, and to help them to implement that. It's like a cookbook. There are so many cookbooks in America, pretty much every part of the world, but not every single person who has a cookbook in their kitchen is a good cook.
Right.
So, so you can give them the recipe, but it doesn't make them great cooks. So Mr. Gino, you are the chef in the marketing world, in the digital marketing world. I mean, you know how to do it. You can whip a few things. You don't have to measure pretty much everything. Some things that have become second nature to you, and you can give them your blueprint on how to market, how to run ads, how to do videos. But most likely, their end product is still not going to be that good. So that's the way I see it. Now, I'm not in the business of giving away stuff for free, but I'm in the business of sharing enough with people
Right.
so they can come into my ecosystem and potentially be able to share the services that we have.
Yeah, I think you nailed it. And Kenya in the comments definitely nailed it as well. It builds your credibility, right? I mean, when you're able to get those things out there and share with the world, what it builds that credibility to where they feel confident and bringing you in to talk to their company, right? Or talk to their organization as well. So yeah, you absolutely nailed it. And you do a great job with that as well. Now, every superhero has a defining moment, Isaac. What do you think yours is when it comes to not only your career, but your life as well?
Yeah, I have several, but the main one was when I was 12 years old. And this is a story that I don't tell that much. And it wasn't until 2021 I was speaking in Frisco, Texas. And actually, when I was done, it was more of a Q&A. And a guy there called Dave asked me, at what point do you know that you are going to be successful in your own right? And I paused for a second. It took me back to when I was 12 years old. So I mentioned that I was raised by a single mother, 4 brothers, 2 sisters. My dad left when I was 9 years old. And my dad used to work for the government. And then he took an early retirement, came back to the village, built a business. And him and my stepmom, they had a big house right next to a small, an equivalent of 10 by 10 small house. And we were struggling. So you can imagine your dad is just next door and you're here, you don't have enough food. So one day I was supposed to go to school and I didn't have a pen, just a regular pen like this pen. And my mom didn't have money to buy me a pen. So she said, go ask your dad for money. Walked up to my dad. He was sitting outside enjoying his breakfast. My cue that morning, we didn't have breakfast because we didn't have food. So when I walked up to him, I asked him money for a pen. And he said, no, I'm not going to give you money. And he said, you should never, ever, ever ask me for money. And basically he took his cane. There's a African men usually have like a cane, and he chased me away with that cane. So my dad was a big guy, so I was able to run away. And so I didn't go back to the little house where my mom was. I just decided to walk to school. And on my way to school, I got thinking. I was only 12 years old, and I said, okay, I just needed a pen. My dad is the only person that I could ask at this point. And I went to school, and I was going to show up without a pen. Now, the problem was, in the school that I went to, and looking back, it was more like an abuse. If you showed up without a pen or an exercise book or something to write on, you would literally be punished. Like you would be caned. They used to call it corporal punishment. They will have a cane and just really, it's like they'll beat you up. So I knew I was going to be punished in school. And I got to school, talked to a friend of mine, and I said, hey, can I help you do your homework later today? And then you kind of just give me, share with me one of your pens. He said, yeah, no problem. So he gave me a pen. That was my first transaction when it comes to business. But again, on my way to school, I made a declaration, and it's a decision that I made. And I said, I'll never, ever again beg for anything. And I said, I'm going to grow up to become a man, have my own resources so I can take care of myself, take care of my mother, take care of my brothers, take care of my family. I'll never ask my dad for anything, and not just my dad, not anyone else. So that was a defining moment for me. I was only 12 years old. And when I look back, I've been fortunate enough to be really kind of self-reliant and independent in my thinking and the way I do things. Now, I've been mentored by people. Of course, you go through these tough times, but I'm at a point whereby, yes, I know how to ask for help, but I never beg for anything. I believe I can get out there, ask for help. You can help me. I can do things myself. So that was a defining moment for me, and I'm glad it happened. My dad passed many years ago, and I usually say if I was to go back, I would do 2 things. I would tell my dad, first off, thank you for leaving our family and for kind of, chasing me away and not giving me money for a pen, because it helped me become who I am today, someone who's self-reliant. And number 2, I would tell him, hey, thank you for leaving our family and not taking care of us, because I make a lot of money telling stories about you. So.
Oh, that's so strong. I love that.
Yeah, looking back, everything worked out, honestly. Yeah. People always ask me, are you mad at your dad for leaving? No, I'm not, really. People make decisions. He made his, bad decisions, and that was then many years ago. I mean, if I was to hold on to all those things that happened that long time ago, I'm just denying myself, again, the ability to enjoy life. So everything all worked out.
100%. And it's all mindset, right? I mean, in that moment, you can go one way or you can go the other, right? You go to school and you take your lashings, right? And then poor me, poor Isaac, right? Yep. Why is this happening to me, right? Or figure it out, right? And you make that choice, and that's probably why you'll never ever have to beg for anything, Isaac, because you've got that mindset, right? But I think when we get to this point in our lives, right, it's either poor me, I'm a victim, right, or this happened to me, this shaped me, right? It changed my path, And is it going to be for the better or the worse? That's up to me. Right.
Mm.
And so I think that's so strong that even at 12, right? I feel like it's hard at 12 to have that mindset of this isn't happening, right? This is what I'm going to do.
Mm.
Incredible. Incredible. Well, you just answered part of my next question without answering part of my next question. But heroes all have attributes, right? Same as villains. What are the attributes you feel define what a hero really is?
The attributes, I'll pick 3 that define a hero. First off, selfless. And that means always looking out for other people, to help them out, being kind of having an outward perspective. And you mentioned that some people are so self-absorbed, they only think about themselves.
Yeah.
And even if you dig deep into the reason we tend to experience fear and we get paralyzed and crippled, we can't move forward, is because we are so self-absorbed. We are thinking about ourselves, focusing so much on ourselves. But when you have an outward kind of a mindset, thinking about other people and looking for ways to help them, then that eases the fear because you're thinking about other people. So one of the attributes is being selfless and outward thinking. Number 2, heroes are action oriented. They see a problem. They figure it out very quickly. It may not be the perfect action that they're going to take. It may not be the best decision, but they take action. They have a bias for action. Because again, you only get results through the actions that you take. If you don't take action, you're just going to have an illusion of a result. And again, that's another problem. I mean, another reason why people get frustrated, because when you don't take action, you don't get any kind of a result. That means you're not progressing. And the killer of happiness and fulfillment is lack of progress. If you're not progressing, even with marginal kind of movements, then you're likely to be frustrated. So being selfless, being action oriented, and then number 3, I would say that they have a kind of a massive vision for themselves and others as well. Now, vision tends to be diluted when people only think about company vision and mission and people's vision, but I'm talking about being able to see the future from the present. They see what's possible. They can predict to an extent what's going to happen, because again, they are self-aware. They are going to take action. They know they're going to get some kind of a result. Now, when you think about from our personal perspective, we plan for tomorrow because we have a vision for tomorrow. We have a hope that tomorrow is going to come. But it's possible also tomorrow is not going to come for you. You can die today. It's possible. It happens to so many people. Companies talk about 5 years from today, 10 years from today, 100 years from today. They come up with that vision, and then they work towards that. So heroes always think about the future. They can see the future from the present, and that keeps them going. And that's why if you've ever seen a hero really fight, they get knocked down and they get up. Okay, they say, and even to an extent, if you are feeling sorry for them, but because there's something that they're working towards, they can see the future from the present. That's why they keep going, and I think that's good for us as professionals and as human beings.
Yeah, absolutely. Going right back to the beginning with the selflessness, you reminded me of a quote from Zig Ziglar, which is, if you help enough people get what they need, you'll always have what you want. Right. Yeah. And I feel like that's very true in the professional world as well as the superhero world, right? Is if you're always looking to give to somebody else, you'll always get what you need, right, in return. So great stuff, Isaac. Last question for you here, buddy. Now, if you had to pick any superhero that's out there that relates best to Isaac Wambua, who would that be? And then tell us a couple of reasons why.
I hate to disappoint you, but I'm not sure I'm going to be able to answer that question the way you expect, or at least your audience expects.
I don't have any expectations. You answer it with best for you.
I'll share something. I'll share with you.
Yeah.
Like I said, I grew up in Africa, and I don't know how much you know about Africa, but specifically where I grew up, we didn't have TV, so I didn't grow up with really being aligned with any superhero. Most of the movies I watched them when I came to the US. So and again, this is just me being honest and authentic. Yeah. I'm not attached to any particular superhero when it comes to the ones that we watch, but they are heroes in my life. Okay, my mother was one of them, of course. Being someone who didn't go to school, She didn't know how to read or write. She took care of us, all 7 kids, and she taught us how to respect people no matter who they are, no matter their age. She taught us to work hard and not to expect handouts. But the most important thing, she taught us every single day, and these are words she said, that seasons come and seasons go. Even when you're going through a tough time, it's more like a wave in the ocean. It's always going to subside. Okay. So she's my hero. My mom passed last year in July 15th last year. She would always be my hero. Now, from a personal perspective, just like many people that are watching right now, we've gone through tough times. And even when I got into business, I went through a very rough patch. And one specific one was in 2016. I had built a good practice. I had lots of clients and big contracts. Then I lost one of my major accounts, and I had to almost build from scratch. And it got so bad that I couldn't cover my bills. I couldn't really even make payments for my car. It was just horrible. So I had to go back and drive for Uber for several months to get back on my feet. But one specific incident happened when I got a deal to travel to Michigan to do a 5-day training, different cities. I was going to get paid well. The only problem is that this company didn't pay me before, so they would pay after the deal. And that means I had to travel to Michigan. They paid for the flight, they paid for the hotel, but that's it. So they didn't pay for the meals. And at that point, on the day that I was supposed to leave, my account was negative 200. And my bills were still pending. I was owing the landlord a lot of money. And I remember sitting down and thinking, okay, should I go to Michigan with negative 200, or should I not go and just try to scrape my way through here in Kansas City? And I decided to go. So my car that was driving didn't have gas, and I had to drive to the airport, Kansas City airport. So I took a small bag that had change, and I had already taken out the quarters and the dimes. The only thing that was left was a few nickels and pennies. So I took to a Price Chopper, the grocery store. I put that change in the little magical machine that you put in and spits out, some the money out of it. So I got $9 out of that. That was on you are in Kansas City, so 119th and Metcalf. There's a Price Chopper there. Got $9. I went to a Quick Trip, the gas station, gassed up my car with 2 gallons, and then I bought myself a hot dog and I drove to the airport. Got to the airport, left my car there, and then when I was sitting waiting for my flight, a thought came to me, and I was like, "What are you doing? You are going to Michigan with negative 200. What if you get an emergency? What are you going to do?" I mean, all the bad stuff. And something came to me, which was a question was, what's the worst thing that could happen? You're already really deep in the hole. What's the worst thing that could happen? So I left. And when I got in the plane, I watched a movie, and it's an animated movie, and it's called Zootopia. Probably you've watched it. Many people maybe have. And in that movie, there's a song that was done by Shakira. And it says that I will not give up, I will not give in until I reach the end. And that's the thing that carried me through when I went to Michigan. I did my training. And even up to now, I love that movie so much. I have 2 kids. My daughter is 3.5. My son is 18 months. And I introduced my daughter into that. She loves it. And my wife is like, that's not fair, So, and I still operate with that I'll never give in. I'll not give up until I reach the end. So just to give you the conclusion of that, the last day before I came back to Kansas City, really the last day of the training that I was doing, I kind of freaked out because I was like, I'm going back to Kansas City. I got to get to the airport, get my car from the airport, and you have to pay before you get the car.
Yeah, $15 a day. Yeah.
I was like, okay, Jesus, this is going to be interesting. So I decided to log into my account. That night, it was still negative 200. I went to bed. I was like, okay, what's the worst thing that could happen? They can keep the car anyway. So went to bed, woke up in the morning. That was the last day for my seminars. And I logged into my account. Now, I don't know what you believe in. I'm a Christian. Some people believe it doesn't matter what it is, but I also believe that God makes things happen. So I logged into my account just to see how much negative it is. And when I logged in, my account was positive 1,300.
Wow.
And, I kind of blinked several times and I was like, something is wrong. So I logged off and logged back in and it was still positive 1,300. So what happened is that I looked and someone that I had done some work for training for their leaders had basically paid me 1,500. That it was an invoice that was overdue. I had tried to collect. They had not paid me. So I had given up on it. And somehow he deposited 1,500 into my account. So that made me happy. I was able to come back, pay my bills, pay my rent, and the rest is history. All that to say, my hero are the people that have helped me to become who I am today, being able to push forward, take action even when it's not very clear, and then also a little bit of faith, kind of helps. So that's a long response to your question.
I love it. I love it. I mean, you're exactly like, those other people out there that helped you out, right? I mean, you're doing the exact same thing. So I think you answered it. You nailed it. I mean, that relates back to you in several different ways. So I love that, man. Wow. What a gut-wrenching flight, huh?
yeah, it was interesting. But then it was an American Airlines flight, and it's like almost every time I fly with American, which I did last week when I was going to Chicago, those memories come back. As I'm sitting there, I'm like, this was a defining moment for me, right? I did not give up. I went to Michigan, did that, and the rest is history. So we are going to go through some rough patches, but the key thing is, don't allow fear to paralyze you. Of course, people tell you, hey, be fearless and get out there, get out of your comfort zone. First off, when you're stressed out, nobody wants to use energy. Okay, so you can't just jump out of that. And I was sharing this with someone last night at a dinner that I attended, is that you just need to make those marginal movements. Okay, take a step, go brush your teeth, read a book, and if you get tired, just put it down. Do your dishes. Maybe you are going to do only 2 cups, and then you're like, I don't want to do the dishes anymore. They are your dishes. Just leave them. Really, those small marginal actions are going to get you going. But when people say no pain, no gain, just get out there and do it, it's a myth. It never happens. And if you've ever gone through tough times, you know what that means. But taking those actions, they are going, when you look back, you see some kind of results, and that's how you get confidence to keep going.
Absolutely. Yeah. One step at a time, 1% better every day. I mean, that's really, I've been there, and that's, you couldn't be more correct. It's those little tiny things that build up and make a big difference over time. And if anybody out here watching hasn't seen Zootopia, definitely go out there and do that. That is a great movie. And not only is it a great movie, but it's got some serious life lessons in there that I think more of us need to hear nowadays. And I'll leave it at that. But that is a fantastic movie. Get out there and watch that for sure. Isaac, man, thank you for coming on the show. You're absolutely incredible. How can people get a hold of you? How can they follow you? How can they hire you to come speak?
Yeah, it's very easy. Thank you for being gracious and asking that. The easiest way to get a hold of me is to go to LinkedIn. Just search for me, Isaac Wambua. You may not be able to pronounce the name, but just type it out there. You can send me a message. You can connect with me. If you go to Facebook, I use the same name as well. And if you go to our company, dynamomethods.com, you'll be able to see the resources that we have. We don't have everything actually on the website. We are in the process of developing several online programs. On the website, you can click and probably fill a form to hire me, but we also have a separate speaker profile that's coming up. Just connect with me, send me a message, let me know how I can help you. I have access to a lot of resources, by the way. Whether you're going to hire me or not, I'm gonna share those with you, because I believe in you and I know you can become who you want to become. You can do the things that you want to do to help yourself and help so many other people in the world. Because I believe each one of us has a calling, and we need to step out there and make it happen.
Absolutely. And he's got a great perspective, and we need all of those in our lives that we can get always, right? So Isaac, thank you again for coming on the show, man. You're absolutely awesome. And everybody, thank you out there for tuning in.
Yeah, thank you, Gino. Have a good one.
Hey, are we still live? Hey guys, we're still live. Hey guys, this is Kevin Kwok, founder of J29 Creative Group. So who are we? We're a marketing agency here in Kansas City. We're all about a holistic approach to marketing that builds your brand and nurtures online community. But to be honest with you, you guys don't care.